Ah, yes, we are a step closer to LeBron and Steph teaming up with the Warriors. Wow. And the Red Sox break out the brooms to sweep away and embarrass the Yankees. Schein time starts right now.
Don't stop, keep it coming, baby. Don't stop.
Are we about to see LeBron James and Steph Curry team up for a sequel to what we saw in the Paris Olympics? My goodness. All of a sudden, there are reports, there are signs. Look at our guy KOC. Last night, Yahoo's Kevin O'Connor reported that Golden State is in pursuit of both LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They can get a D, according to Kevin O'Connor from Yahoo Sports, from Washington in a trade, and that would be the key to convincing LeBron to go north to the Bay and form a big four with Curry and Draymond Green. And then you have this today. This tweet from our guy, the insider of all insiders, Shams Charania of ESPN. And every single word in this tweet to me matters. Shams writing, Warriors forward Draymond Green declining his $27.7 million player option to become a free agent in the interest of allowing Golden State the flexibility to pursue James and Davis. Wow. Wow. And listen, when KOC wrote it and the way he reported it, if you read it, and I did on Yahoo Sports, it felt real. If you didn't believe it, when Shams drops that Shams bomb this morning, man, here's what it means. The Golden State Warriors are officially a destination for LeBron James. I was prepared after reading KOC on Yahoo Sports. I was prepared today on Shine Time to say, okay, if I'm going to rate the feel, right, give you a percentage on whether or not I think it's realistic that LeBron James and Anthony Davis could go to the Golden State Warriors, I would have said 50%, which to me is a massive number because he's been in Los Angeles for a while now. His son is on the team. His business ventures are in LA. They just re-signed Austin Reeves. They have a great relationship. But then you start thinking about, okay, the Lakers, according to multiple reports, California Post has been all over this, the Lakers have not offered LeBron a new contract. So, with free agency in the new league year starting Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, that counts as something. The fact that and again, it just takes one simple offer from LA, from the Lakers, and we never had this conversation. But when someone as credible as Kevin O'Connor reports this, that's a big deal. Then you listen, and I did last night, to Bill Simmons' podcast, and he thinks there's a realistic chance LeBron leaves and the Warriors are very much in play. Okay, that's great copy, that's great conversation, O'Connor, Simmons, and when Shams puts the Draymond piece into action, I increase this to 60%. We are now operating on the blanket of assumption. And there are other teams and things and scenarios that could be in the mix here, and we'll get to some flies in the ointment. But for the next day or two on Shine Time, we are going to operate under the blanket of assumption that the Golden State Warriors are the favorites when it comes to the services of LeBron James. Now, the Anthony Davis piece to me is the fly in the ointment. And it's not that Davis wouldn't want to go to Golden State. It's if I'm Washington, what's in it for me? You just got A.J. DeBonsa. You have Sarr. You have a good young core. You have Trae Young. You have Anthony Davis. Like, I don't think my mentions are going to be blowing up on social or on the YouTube comments for today's show if I say that if they keep that together in Washington, that's a playoff team. Like, I don't think that's a hot take. I'm not wearing oven mitts. Washington should be able. We said this last week after they drafted DeMonta. After Trae Young, that deal was done. I think Washington can make the playoffs. Now, if Anthony Davis wants to be a pain in the ask the New Orleans Pelicans about that. He can obviously control where he goes and control his destination and control the narrative. We could also see Washington make a sweetheart deal with a team like Golden State and get some young players that they think could ultimately help them. Maybe they can control that situation. So it's the Davis piece to me, because he's tied to Washington. That's the one but in all this. The other thing that I think needs to be stressed, are the Lakers awake? Are the Lakers paying attention? See, I go back to the month of March, right? We were ahead of the curve here on Schein Time, where I said there are 4 teams I could see winning a championship in no order: the Thunder, the Spurs, the Lakers, and the Knicks. And obviously, we were light years ahead of the curve. Other, talking heads saying it's going to be Minnesota, it's going to be Boston, it's going to be Cleveland, it's going to be Detroit. We nailed the teams. We absolutely nailed it. The Lakers, when you had Reeves and Doncic James playing together, were 15-2 in the month of March. And then obviously Doncic gets hurt, Austin Reeves gets hurt, that ill-fated Thursday night in OKC, and the rest is history. Now, they bring back Reeves last week. They draft Carr, and that was an amazing job by Rob Pelinka. I think the Baylor kid is going to be terrific for the Lakers. But they don't have an offer for LeBron? What's the end game? DeAndre Ayton opted in, not what the Lakers wanted, I'm sure. They're going to have to look into moving him. I'll be curious to see if Mitchell Robinson is an option as a backup center for the Lakers. Mitchell Robinson, love him. He's not a starting center in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that this is what LeBron is looking at here in terms of potential roster with the Warriors versus the Lakers. Here's the other thing when it comes to LeBron and the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, Steph and LeBron together would be the Monstars. I know that they are obviously not at the right stage in their careers. They're both getting to the back nine. This could be, in theory, LeBron's final year in his majestic, legendary career. But if you can get this reenactment from Team USA together, we talked about this with regards to the Warriors last week. The Warriors are never going to rebuild. They shouldn't rebuild. They have Steph Curry. They sell out the Chase Center all the time. I don't think that, frankly, the Warriors, as we speak today, without the full roster, they didn't make the playoffs last year. I don't think they're a playoff team this year. But they are a traveling must-see band. Steph Curry's an icon, a legend. Can't take your eyes off him. Steve Kerr, to me, is one of the 5 best coaches in the history of the NBA. If you put LeBron on the Warriors with Anthony Davis and Draymond Green, and they just crushed the draft, I think this would be, I love Yaxel. I think he's terrific. Kerr would be absolutely the right guy to take all these personalities and have them blend. This would not be an example where LeBron would get dinged. Oh, he's ring chasing. LeBron is, 42 years old. Yeah, LeBron James can do whatever he wants, in my opinion, right now at this stage of his career, and he should be celebrated. Look, there were some reports this weekend. LeBron in Miami could be a fit. Take his talents back to South Beach. LeBron in Cleveland could be a fit. Bill Simmons was talking on his incredible podcast about the Spurs being a fit. This would not be an example here going to the Warriors of ring chasing in any way, shape, or form, because Golden State, they obviously have the history and tradition over the last decade plus of winning 4 championships, and Steph is an all-timer, but nobody would be at their prime. But honestly, for our purposes on Schein Time, if we had this team together, be a topic of conversation every single day. It'd be must-see TV. Amazon and ESPN and all the different partners, NBC, Peacock, everyone would be, tripping all over themselves to try to get this Warrior team with LeBron on their specific networks every single day. So all of a sudden, this feels real. Now, the Lakers need to make sure this doesn't happen. And I can't stress this enough. The LA Lakers, I don't see a plan B. Is it just they're done with LeBron? They don't want James on the team? I can't imagine that would go over well with Reeves. I can't imagine that would go over well with JJ Redick, who loves LeBron. They obviously were podcast partners a lifetime ago. I mean, it just wouldn't make any sense to me. So if I'm the Lakers, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure this doesn't happen. But all of a sudden now, we're operating under the blanket of assumption that LeBron James and Steph Curry could play together realistically. League year starts 6 p.m. on Tuesday. Buckle up, Buttercup. Let the games begin. This goes beyond a rumor mill conversation. When Shams tweets that Draymond Green is opting out, and that was a huge component to obviously finding a way to get these guys together, salary-wise, fit-wise, all of a sudden, we could be looking at Steph and LeBron playing together. They're not who they were based upon their age, but man, I think that would be amazing for the NBA, for buzz, for history. And if James, who maybe at this stage of his career is looking at one thing and one thing only, Jordan. Because I'm one of those guys where, and I mean this as a compliment, it's Michael Jordan number one, draw a line, LeBron James number two, draw a line. Like, I don't even think there's a discussion. If LeBron James ever was able to take this version of the Golden State Warriors and find a way to get them deep into the playoffs and or win a championship, that might shift the conversation and or narrow the gap. So I can't get enough of this. This doesn't feel like your fantasy league anymore. This feels real, where you have a lot of reports, a lot of credible journalists in terms of the Golden State Warriors and Curry and Kerr and Draymond and AD and LeBron all teaming up together. Buckle up, Buttercup. Meanwhile, back in Steph Curry's hometown of Charlotte, the Hornets have now made a second big trade in less than a week. How about what transpired with Miles Bridges as they trade Bridges and a 2029 first-round pick to the Suns, along with a 2027 second-rounder for Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and a 2033 first. This comes days after they sent LaMelo Ball packing to Minnesota, and now the rumor mill is focused on a possible pursuit of Celtic star Jaylen Brown. Couple of important things here. Number one, I love this for Charlotte. I genuinely do. I think that when you are an NBA team, you're either in a 5-on-5 sport where you're supposed to be, you feel internally like you could get there, or you know you can't. And as fun as Charlotte was down the stretch of last year, they were not a playoff team. So they needed to make some changes. Now, you look at this right here in terms of additions and subtractions, all the buzz with the Hornets. And I've always argued Charlotte is a great basketball city. Obviously, you think about all the college basketball in North Carolina. You know, the Hornets before they became the Pelicans back in the day with Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning. That is a great NBA market. The league, ownership, ruined it forever. Look, I love the Ball deal for Minnesota. I really think Reed is going to help this basketball team. I think Grayson Allen, he will certainly sell tickets, former Duke star. That's going to help. Miller is terrific. Con Knipple is terrific. And if you could somehow find a way to get Jaylen Brown, this Hornets team would be ready to rock and roll now. Because when you add those kind of pieces and components, and you added O'Neal, you added Grayson Allen, if you could then trade other players and or the first round picks that you have accumulated and you ship them to Boston, man, I think that would be absolutely terrific. We're at a stage right now when it comes to the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes. First of all, you know that ever since they lost to Philadelphia and he went on Twitch, I have been of the opinion that Jaylen Brown would be gone, right? Now, you look at these first round picks, certainly without question, the Charlotte Hornets have a bevy of picks that they will be able to deal to land Jaylen Brown. Let's be crystal clear about that. So I expect Jaylen Brown is going to get traded. I think there are three teams that you look at. Number one, the Hornets. Number two, and this is, frankly, I think the leader in the clubhouse, Portland. I think Portland would make a lot of sense here. You know, we could talk about Sharp, talk about Klingon. They've got a couple of first-round picks. I also think with James Harden opting out of his contract and they can try and soften the number on a multi-year deal in Cleveland, maybe that re-energizes a potential rumored swap with Evan Mobley going to Boston in exchange for Jaylen Brown. Boston has to move Brown. Let's be crystal clear. The genie's out of the bottle, toothpaste out of the tube, any cliche you want to use. There's no turning back here when it comes to ultimately at the end of the day, Jaylen Brown being back in Boston. Even when they won a championship, it was not the right fit in terms of Brown always felt like at the end of the day, he wasn't respected by the fans and they liked Tatum more, whatever it was. They won a championship with him. If I'm Brad Stevens, if I'm Joe Mazzulla, you trust yourselves. Even if you don't win, quote unquote, the trade, or the trade machine doesn't give you a check in your box in terms of this team or that team as the trade winner, you're doing it because you have to. Once you put Brown in the Giannis deal, he was gone. And apparently Brown is acting like he's done in Boston because he's done in Boston. We have not wavered or waffled on this on Schein Time. And I expect that you will see Jaylen Brown traded by the Boston Celtics this week. And I believe right now, and listen, I would love there's a mystery team or something fluid or something we don't know. I would say that Charlotte, Portland, Cleveland, those are the three teams I think make the most sense and are the most realistic. I think Portland would be right now at the top of the list. Did you guys hear that my Knicks are the champions of the world? Kevin Durant's heard about it.
I would tell them to strike while the iron's hot. I mean, this is a time that I don't think New Yorkers or the Knicks could, going to get back, So I think you should.
Nah, it's probably true. It's probably true.
I mean, you got to take advantage of this time right now.
Yeah.
You don't know if this will come around.
Yeah.
It's been 53 years, so
I mean, it could be a 56.
it could be another 53-year wait.
Every time Kevin Durant speaks, I want to just scream. I want to yell. And I love Kevin Durant. I defend Kevin Durant. I defend Kevin Durant from going to OKC and going to Golden State. You know what Kevin Durant is? He's a two-time champion because he's won 2 championships. He won the Finals MVP a couple of times. He's an all-time great. He's also an all-time antagonist. And I don't even understand what he's doing. I get it. He decided to sign with the irrelevant Brooklyn Nets and not the Knicks, and he wants to throw all sorts of shade. Listen, he realized he was playing to the crowd, right? The question was asked about Jalen Brunson and advertising and marketing and taking advantage of being a champion. And his whole point was, take advantage of it now. You don't know when that's going to happen again. And then the crowd started getting into it, and his wheels started turning. KD, pipe down. I mean, Kevin Durant right now is in no man's land in the NBA. And unless he's traded to Detroit, he's not sniffing the Larry O'Brien trophy anytime soon. So let's be crystal clear about that. So Kevin Durant loves throwing shade at the Knicks. Having said that, if I'm a Knicks fan, nothing can rattle us at this stage. It doesn't matter. Maybe in the past, if we hadn't won, I'd be angry at Kevin Durant. I'm not angry. Tears of a clown right there. You signed with the Nets. You've been irrelevant ever since. And the Knicks, listen, Jose Alvarado after Friday's show, 3 years, 15 mil, let's go. Mitchell Robinson, I really hope, and I know it's not likely, and Steph Bondy has been reporting this, and Steph's the best, of course, covers the Knicks for the Post. Unlikely Mitchell Robinson comes back. If I could advise Mitchell Robinson of one thing, take less money and re-sign with the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson is not a starting center. I know that. You know that. Knicks fans know that. I fear that some of these teams, because they can, in their mind, sell it. It's world champion Mitchell Robinson. They can get him while he's hot, fresh off of winning the Larry O'Brien trophy. No, Mitchell Robinson is a phenomenal backup center. That's who he is, okay? I hope he comes back to give the Knicks a better shot to run it back. I saw a report, Jake Fisher had it, that Landry Shamet could be in the mix to be, one of the wingmen for Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Miami Heat. I could see that. I could see Pat Riley being interested in bringing in Landry Shamet. I think Shamet really wants to stay in New York. We'll have to see what the financial number is, what the Heat offer him, what the Knicks offer him, what anyone else offers him. But here's the thing when it comes to Durant and it comes to the second apron. And, you saw Isaiah Joe just get traded from OKC to Detroit. And, the OKC had to make another deal, and Wallace gets shipped to the Atlanta Hawks, and a really good deal for Atlanta, no question about that. And Hartenstein gets his new contract, right? The second apron is just, I know why it's there to prevent dynasties. And, hosting a national sports radio show for a living for over 2 decades. I know fans got sick and tired of the Warriors. I know they got sick and tired of LeBron in the finals every single year. I get that. But I think at this stage, when it comes to the second apron, you don't even have the desired result, right? I mean, OKC having to, and OKC's still loaded, by the way. Let's be crystal clear about that. OKC, obviously, they just cleaned up in the draft, and, they still have, to me, the best roster in the NBA. Last 9 years, 9 different champs, and that's what the league wanted. But that second apron, owners don't like it, GMs don't like it, players don't like it, agents don't like it, and that sucks. Now, when Durant says it could be another 53 years, maybe, but also maybe not. And I think whenever the Knicks stop partying and celebrating, and here's hoping that's half past never, I think the Knicks are going to absolutely be in contention to run it back. I think if you want to rank the teams going into the start of the offseason tomorrow, I would put the Knicks third on the list in terms of most talented teams. Or if you look at Vegas and the odds, you have OKC number 1, San Antonio number 2, Knicks right now number 3. I'm good with that. Like that's not shade. And I would say right now, we'll see what Detroit does. I like their Isaiah Joe deal. We'll see if Cleveland does anything. Atlanta's off to a terrific start with Flemings and, our friend Zuby from St. John, Zuby Ejiofor, and obviously that aforementioned deal with OKC, getting Wallace. That was terrific. I think the Knicks are absolutely going to be the favorite. And there's a lot of reasons to believe they'll be better in the regular season now having the experience of having won a championship. So at the end of the day, it's a weird thing from Kevin Durant. And I know he's catering to the crowd. I just wish for himself. Kevin Durant is a legend. And if Kevin Durant's, didn't wear that extra long shoe with the Brooklyn Nets in that Game 7, second round against Milwaukee, the game tying the 2 would have been a game-winning 3. They would have advanced to the next round. Who the hell knows? That could have changed history for Giannis and for everybody involved. People forget about that. That was a big deal in the second round the year the Bucks ended up winning a championship. I'll tell you, though, every time Durant speaks, every time he goes to social media, every time he has a new burner account, it breaks my heart because I love Kevin Durant. I always defend him as a player. Durant saying that, the Warriors were an underdog. He said that a few weeks ago, going from OKC to Golden State. They were a 73-win team, KD. What are we doing here? I just wish he would sometimes just get a grip and get a clue. He has so much to offer as an NBA player, so much to offer as, a wise veteran now in the NBA, Team USA icon. He's been around the block. He's a big sports fan, big football fan, big NFL fan. Just stop with the garbage and the nonsense and the slander. Also, could be next year when the Knicks win another championship. My New York Yankees are now 3-7 in their last 10 games after going up to Boston this weekend and getting swept in a 4-game series in New England's living room. Aaron Boone does not seem concerned.
How do you make sure, like you said, a tough weekend like this doesn't snowball into anything?
That's what we do, baby. You gotta love this stuff. You gotta eat this stuff up. It's a sickness, and you gotta just. That's what the grind is. We got a really good freaking team. We played crappy on this trip. Kinda feels bad. Kind of pissed off, right? But it's what we do. It's what you sign up for. We'll dig ourselves out of it and get it going here in short order. But we just, bottom line is we didn't play well this weekend, and we gotta do better.
It's what you sign up for? It's what you sign up for, Aaron Boone? Losing to this awful, pathetic, embarrassing Boston Red Sox team? A Red Sox team that has just been a disaster all season long? Broom's Day, absolutely. I mean, this was an embarrassment last night. I mean, Sonny Gray, former Yankee, and I loved when Brian Cashman made that trade because I love Sonny Gray. I'm a huge Sonny Gray fan. Loved him with the A's. I loved when the Yankees got him. Didn't pitch well with the Yankees. Then I loved Sonny Gray when ultimately he goes to Cincinnati and he goes to Minnesota and he goes to St. Louis. He signs with the Red Sox, and Sonny Gray admits, I lied. My agent lied. Said I'd be happy in New York. He basically said, I hate Boone, I hate Cashman, I hate New York, I hate the Bronx, I hate Stans, I hate Derek Jeter, I hate Mickey Mantle, I hate Babe Ruth. I'm paraphrasing here. What he said when he signed with Boston. That's basically what he said. And then I'm watching Sonny Gray last night. Finally, when, NBC got around to putting the game on, as opposed to, the fact that it was on Peacock because they were airing golf. Thank goodness my girls like Love Island, so I knew my Peacock password. But I digress. So here I am, and I'm sitting there watching after finally, flipping around, finding the game, and I'm watching Sonny Gray stick it to the Yankees. He's throwing a no-hitter into the eighth. But of course, these are the Red Sox, and this is the worst version of the Red Sox, most embarrassing version of the Red Sox that Red Sox fans have seen in 50 years. The expectations were high. And they brought in, all these pitchers in the offseason. And a lot of people, myself included, thought they'd make the playoffs. They fire Cora, which was asinine and idiotic. John Henry, the owner, is clueless. Sam Kennedy, the team president, and Craig Breslow, the overmatched general manager, they're like bobbleheads. They have no power, no say. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Devers, Bregman, all of it. Hot garbage. Red Sox have been atrocious and awful and irrelevant. And this is the team that beats the Yankees? If the Yankees went into Boston and split, I would be livid. I'd be livid. They got swept. And last night, you saw Braves throw in the ninth. I mean, if someone, an outfielder in elementary school on my son Theo's Little League team, missed every single cutoff man, and then everyone in the infield was just lollygagging, walking around with no urgency, I'd be annoyed at the kids on the Little League team. I mean, the Red Sox, who are terrible, trying to give the Yankees that game. They couldn't even take it. I love Bednar. Bednar has been phenomenal. He's been on a heater. They had to take him out. Cruz comes in, game over. I mean, go back through the chronological order here, right? Go back to Thursday, where you see Schlittler on the bump, and the Yankees couldn't catch the ball. His ERA dropped, and they couldn't win. They couldn't hit. They couldn't have any kind of juice or sizzle or effort or energy or fundies or just catch the damn baseball. They got rocked on Friday night. Saturday, bad weather in New York. I sat my ass on the couch. It's like old school 1 o'clock Yankees, Red Sox. All these games are always in prime time. It's on ABC. I mean, I felt like I was, growing up back in the day. 1 o'clock, Garrett Cole is giving up homers. That game was over before I even got comfortable. And I know that, I use strikeout to walk ratio often in describing how a pitcher pitches. Cole was terrible, but it's not his fault necessarily. It's the offense. And here you got Aaron Boone talking about, it's okay. We're going to be fine. Look, this is the first time I've been angry as a sports fan since the Knicks won, right? This is the first time I've been angry. There is a perspective, and that perspective is the American League stinks. American League stinks. As of Monday morning, there are only 4 teams in the entire league that are above 500. Think about that for a second. One of them is the White Sox. So that's all you need to know about how bad the American League is. We showed you the standings. Yankees on Thursday entered the series as the first place team with the best record in the American League. They're now a wild card team. If the season ended today, and we had our producer Griff call Rob Manfred of Major League Baseball, it doesn't. But if the season ended today, the Yankees are going on the road in the playoffs. They're a wild card team. They don't have home field advantage anymore. A mess, a complete and utter mess. And this goes back to the lack of oomph, right? The lack of urgency, the lack of focus. Boone is to blame. The Yankees need 4 new relief pitchers. Let's be crystal clear about that. And where is the Yankees' ability to steal the Red Sox soul? Think about it. There was not one Red Sox fan who going into this series like, yeah, Yankees, Red Sox, really pumped up for the best rivalry in baseball. We barely made it a deal on Schein time last week because the Red Sox are awful. I mean, the Mets fans were laughing at the Red Sox. We're on record calling the Red Sox the biggest embarrassment in all of baseball. And they sweep? They take the broom and they not only sweep away the Yankees, they stick it up their derrieres? What are you kidding me? That's a disgrace. It's a gutless, puke, pathetic performance. There are basically right now 3 batters in that lineup. Because this is not about, well, Judge isn't there. No. You should be able to take a series against the worst Red Sox team that we've seen in the last 40 years. And I don't want to hear that Judge isn't there. Ben Rice, great. Bellinger, great. 52-year-old Goldschmidt has had a really strong season. Other than that, if you're a Yankees fan, who do you want in the batter's box? There's not one player on this team that you want to, and I like Jazz, he's been terrible. Austin Wells isn't hitting his weight. Austin Wells isn't hitting my weight. That's a problem. If I have to look at Anthony Volpe's face one more time, I'm going to absolutely lose it. Some series are just worse than the others. And here's the thing, and we're going to be careful, right? I'm not declaring the season over because the AL sucks. The Yankees are still alive. The Yankees in Vegas, if you look today on DraftKings, they're the overwhelming favorites to win the American League. But this is bad. 3 runs on Thursday, 1 run on Friday, 1 run on Saturday, and they just got, forget the final score because that distracts, and those runs were not earned in the 9th. I mean, they're getting no hit by Sonny Gray into the 8th inning. Sonny Gray, who basically told you that he hates Bernie Williams and Jorge Posada, and he thinks Roger Maris is an overrated clown. That's what he said when he signed with the Red Sox. Come on. He hates Joe DiMaggio. I mean, he hates New York pizza. And that's the guy who's sticking it to you last night. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Despite all their incompetence this weekend, the Yankees may still have gained a new fan.
I'm a Yankees fan.
Why? Why can't you be a Mets fan?
Because I don't want to be the worst.
We're Mets fans in this house.
I don't want to be the worst team.
So which team do you want to root for?
Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, that kid gets it. Seriously. And you know what? David Stearns needs to walk to that kid's house, not get in the back seat of a car. Walk to his house and apologize for making kids all over the metropolitan area cry. Kids, adults, the elderly. That's one thing that all different Mets fans, doesn't matter your age, your race, your religion, what you believe in. You're crying because of David Stearns. You broke the kid. The kid wants to root for the Yankees. What the hell is wrong with you? We went through this on Friday. You know, Carlos Mendoza fired, sure, great. But it's David Stearns' fault. Who lets Pete Alonso go? Who brings in Devin Williams? Who decides, well, we're going to take a non-first baseman and have him replace Alonso at first base. The back end of the rotation's terrible. I mean, Bo Bichette never played third base. Come on down. Overreaction to Kyle Tucker. And then at his press conference, that was an embarrassment. And I loved the way John Heyman and Joel Sherman, Mike Puma, everyone from the Post just absolutely hammered Stearns. By the way, I don't get the sense he's worried about his job at all. Like, that's why that kid is crying, because he watched the press conference. And that's why he's moved to tears. And he's thinking of rooting for the Yankees, because Stearns has no answers. My goodness. I mean, that press conference was a mess. And then there's this. Yeah. Mr. Met, understanding the moment. Understanding how tough this is. I don't even know how my guy Steve Gelbs was able to concentrate during this. Did you see our guy, Clem from Barstool? He put together the bracket of Mets disasters. I mean, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on the internet. Seriously. I mean, just one category as a 4 seed was Jason Bay. You didn't even have to explain it. I mean, you know, Kevin Mitchell cutting off a cat's head was like a 7 seed. You know, the collapse in 2007. My personal favorite, which always, you know, over the last 20 years showed the Mets ineptitude, you know, they put Ryan Church when he was concussed on an airplane and flew him coast to coast, and he never played again. He got Mr. Met dancing behind our guy Steve Gelbs. Kyle Schwarber, by the way, 30 home runs. Phillies, to me, are the biggest challenger when it comes to the Dodgers in the National League. Congrats to the Dodgers, by the way, winning the NL West, stealing the soul from the Padres. They actually lost against their old friend Walker Buehler on Friday, and then one Saturday, one Sunday. That is over, and the Dodgers have the best record in all of baseball. Phillies, Dodgers, that's my prediction. Was my prediction before the season. My prediction now when it comes to the NLCS, Braves have come back down to earth. Mets are a waste, a total waste. Kids are crying. I walked the streets today. I mean, people are just grown men and women just in tears. I said, what's wrong? I root for the Mets. I put my arm around you. I mean, it's like a comedy of errors. It's an embarrassment. And Schwarber, who, you know, let's be honest, I mean, he is just so much fun to watch. And the Mets, they're just gutless. They're lifeless. They were put together in such a pathetic way. And it's year 2 of the Juan Soto contract. Hey, Juan Soto, how you doing? And people thought because I'm a Yankee fan, this was me throwing shade. I'm not throwing shade. I said before Juan Soto signed, he's not going to win a World Series here. As long as David Stearns is building the team. And I last year said the Mets will not make the playoffs, and they didn't. And this year, I thought they'd get in as the last wildcard team. I had them 3rd in the division before the season, just comparatively to the rest of the teams in the National League. This is a mess. Year 2 of the Juan Soto contract. How's that going? Speaking of incompetence, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim have fired their general manager. Perry Manassian, out. 36 and 49. 3rd worst in the American League. John Mozeliak is officially the interim general manager. So I thought about this, and you see Perry's face right here. I think that Artie Moreno is the worst owner in all of sports. I really believe that. And Perry is clueless, and he deserved to be fired, but it's also simultaneously not his fault. So here's a picture of Shohei Ohtani shaking Artie Moreno's hand. Artie Moreno was going to sell the team, and fans rejoiced. They were dancing in the street. And then I think he decided not to sell the team out of spite. Artie Moreno, I firmly believe, is the devil in disguise. You see oftentimes, California Post has all the videos, a lot of fans in Anaheim, they make news, they go viral for singing and dancing and chanting for Artie to sell the team. I really think if Rob Manfred is awake, and there are a lot of bad owners in baseball, the Rockies, terrible, John Fisher with the A's going from Oakland to Sacramento, eventually to Vegas, he's terrible. Pirates owner is terrible. Artie Moreno is the worst. And they have turned a Southern California market into a totally irrelevant wasteland. The Angels have the longest droughts of not making the playoffs in baseball right now, 11 years. And frankly, it feels even longer than that. You look at the Angels, and a couple years ago, Perry wanted to trade Shohei Ohtani because he wasn't coming back to the baseball team. And Artie Moreno wouldn't let him, saying, well, we're going to re-sign him. On what planet did you think Shohei Ohtani wanted to be part of this mess? They had Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout and couldn't make the playoffs. Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, and they couldn't make the playoffs. Moreno won't let his executives rebuild, won't let him develop a farm system. He's not only a bad guy by all accounts, he's meddlesome. And I really think he hates the fans. Like, I think he genuinely wants to screw the fans and stick it to them. I feel bad for Mike Trout. I know he signed the contract. I know he could have signed with the Philadelphia Phillies. He's from obviously South Jersey. That would have been great. He roots for the Eagles. Instead, he hitches his wagon to this guy, Artie Moreno, the absolute worst. Permanaz in 5+ years since 2021 was .392 and 500 as the general manager. One of 4 teams, okay, over the last 5 seasons in baseball that have not made the playoffs. Pirates, Rockies, Nationals, and obviously the Anaheim Angels. And here's the thing, if you understand Angels history and tradition. The Angels have it. They genuinely do. The Angels, for so many years in the 80s, the 90s, then finally they get over the hump, 2002, the late, great Garrett Anderson and Troy Glass and those fun-to-watch teams. I mean, they get over the hump. They win the World Series. The fan base, unbelievable. The ambiance used to be great. The rally monkey, everything about it. Celebrities would go to the games. They would have the stadium packed. Now, you don't have anyone in the ballpark unless you're openly rooting for the owner to sell the damn team. And they're right. The worst feeling as a sports fan is when you know your team's dead on arrival. And normally in baseball, there are 2 levels, right? Haves and have-nots when it comes to what you can spend. The Angels are in a monster market. They're a have. They spend money. They have no idea how to spend money because Moreno says, yeah, get me Anthony Rendon. Remember him? He hates baseball. He comes from the Washington Nationals after they won the World Series, collected the money, and basically gave all the fans and Artie the proverbial middle finger, the double bird. That's how bad it was. I mean, think about all the nonsense and shenanigans and lawsuits and deaths and everything that has transpired with this pathetic organization. And it all stems from the top. I mean, firing the general manager, sure. But we're talking about an absolute disgrace of a baseball team. And now these fans have to watch Shohei Ohtani. He's going to win another MVP, doing his thing right down the road. Brutal. Absolutely, positively brutal. To the NFL now, where things get weirder and weirder between Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers. Here is a portion of Ayuk's latest video post.
General manager gonna pull up to my house. Oh, weirdo. Like, bro, don't pull up to my house uninvited, boy. Shit ain't safe. The fuck? But I knew his ass was gonna do it. So I'm looking at my camera, my front door camera. I see a big old white boy, white man, former NFL safety. And I'm like, oh, hell no. And I know my wife is about to be back home soon. So I had to call my wife and say, it's a big ass white man at the house. I don't know what he doing over there. He was not invited. Shit creepy. So if you on your way home, probably just spin the block a few times, because I don't know what bro on. Like, weird.
I don't think it's exaggeration to call Brandon Aiyuk the single worst decision by the San Francisco 49ers. And they've had some crazy ones, including what transpired with that trade up and Trey Lance and everything that went on there. I also don't think it's crazy to call this the worst contract extension in the history of the NFL. 4 years, $120 million. $76 million guaranteed. That was before the 2024 season. Since he signed the extension, he has as many touchdowns as I do. 0. Didn't even play football last year. Brandon Aiyuk is a sad, scary, loose cannon. The thing is, if you remember the chronological order when it comes to Brandon Aiyuk, they gave him permission to seek a trade. And Cleveland had major interest. New England had major interest. The Pittsburgh Steelers had major interest. And then everyone kind of backed off. And remember, Aiyuk was in Shanahan's doghouse, benched, suspended, didn't start certain games because he was a knucklehead. He had, issues in terms of showing up on time. And now this is all spiraled. So then to not trade him, and you knew at the time that he wasn't the right investment, wasn't worth it, and to give him that kind of money Then they had to take back the guarantees because he didn't show up. He wasn't there for injury rehab. And now you got Aiyuk. He's spending more time on YouTube and more time driving and making all sorts of rants and speeding and breaking the law. And this is the worst. This was all preventable. I wanted the Niners, this brass, to win a championship more than anything because I think they're so smart and they're so calculating, got so many things right. You know, the fact that they lost, both those Super Bowls, they should have won both, especially the last one against Kansas City, which they lost in overtime. That just would have stamped this regime. Now, I don't know how they recover. And this is not going to end well, and he's not going to play for San Francisco ever again, but I'm here to make this case today. And I know that Aiyuk and Jaden Daniels played together in college. If you are the Washington Commanders, and you're listening to this rant as he describes Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, if you're the Washington Commanders, I know Jaden Daniels and Brandon Aiyuk played together in college. Why would you ever invite this nonsense into your building? Makes no sense. Don't do it. Do not invite this kind of chaos and drama. And I know Washington could use another wide receiver. This is not a wide receiver. This is a ticking time bomb. This is a problem. This is not someone you want to hand money to and trust. I get it. Daniels and Aiyuk have a previous relationship. I don't care. I would rather play with 10 on the field than have Brandon Aiyuk on my roster. The Niners clearly feel the same way. This was a disgrace and an embarrassment and the easiest first guess in the history of sports, and I destroyed San Francisco for giving Aiyuk this contract. Sometimes in sports you feel like, okay, guy had a great year, got to give him money. This wasn't the case. They gave him permission to seek a deal. Cleveland, New England, Pittsburgh. What a mess. What an absolute mess. And finally today, the Buffalo Bills have officially announced that O.J. Simpson will not be on display and honored in their brand new stadium in the team's Hall of Fame as they get ready to go into this great, gorgeous new ballpark. The team said in a statement, "We have made an organizational decision that he is not a fit to display inside our new stadium and family circle." And I want you to understand the key word there, display, right? Because they're not kicking OJ out of the Hall of Fame. They're just not displaying it. Nor do I think that OJ should be kicked out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He earned it. What he did with the Buffalo Bills. He was a great running back at USC. But what really pisses me off is when I hear people say, well, with O.J. Simpson, this was a complicated legacy. Complicated legacy? He's a murderer. He killed 2 people. There's nothing complicated about this. He played football. He played football brilliantly. When you think of O.J. Simpson, and if you're the Buffalo Bills and you have this new stadium, you start going over everyone who's been part of the organization and represents it the right way, you don't think of O.J. as a football player. You think of this and why this happened. And you think of O.J. getting off originally. Let's be crystal clear. And then what transpired and the nonsense and the circus. This is not a complicated legacy. He murdered 2 people. That's it. There's no complications. Great job by the Buffalo Bills. That's a show. If you missed any portion of the program, just do what I do. Go to YouTube and watch me. I love me. New York Post Sports YouTube page, California Post Sports YouTube page. Search Schein Time. See you tomorrow on Schein Time.